Good afternoon.
The avalanche has already started. It is too late for the pebbles to vote.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my channel if this is your first time. I've got glasses on because I might delve into these, read the backs or double check the dates or whatever, but I've got a bunch of books in front of me because I wanted to talk about Rocket Summer. Rocket Summer is an event that's been created by Michael K. Vaughan, in which we celebrate science fiction in the summer. And my summer is going to be dominated by science fiction. I'm still going to be doing the Historathon, and I'll be doing my Ray Bradbury deep dive and my banned books project. So I'll be doing those at the same time, but those 3 months will be dominated by science fiction. Because I'm also doing the Book Trek event as well. So that's reading Star Trek books. So I'll be doing a bit of that. But I wanted to go through a bunch of books that I could potentially read for Rocket Summer. And I'm also going to add a few books that don't actually fit the remit of Rocket Summer, but I might read for my science fiction journey in the summer 2024. So Michael K. Vaughan's come up with this event where he wanted to celebrate earlier science fiction. So it's not actually that unusual because a lot of science fiction events, they celebrate kind of classic era and maybe a little bit beyond, maybe a little bit of new wave, but ultimately a lot of people like celebrating the classic period, which is cool, which is why I've also got some newer books I want to try and read as well, because I do think that there's some great stuff coming out at the moment from living authors as well. But I like the idea of the event a lot. And I've got tons and tons of science fiction. I've got a whole hundreds behind me in this and in front of me in this new bookcase. And I wanted to just go through some things that I might read and see if you think, oh, I'll read that one. So there are a few rereads, but I'll tell you when it's a reread, because there is tons here that are not a reread, that's just a straight first time reading. So More Than Human by Theodore Sturgeon. This is a reread, but when I read it, it was before I met my wife and before I had a sister through my relationship with my wife, and therefore my sister's got Down syndrome and all sorts of other things, and it'll be interesting to see if I have a different perspective on this, because I'm pretty sure from what I remember there's a character in this with Down syndrome. So Theodore Sturgeon's More Than Human is a possibility. Robert Bloch's Ladies' Day in This Crowded Earth. So that's a double ace combination. I think it's an ace book. Is it an ace book? Oh, Belmont, which might be part of the ace stuff. Not sure. But yeah, Robert Bloch. It'd be good to read that. Powell Anderson. So there's a few Powell Anderson ones. The Corridors of Time. That's different stories that were brought out in this collection came out in the 60s. Most of this is 60s stuff, actually. So the prompts for Rocket Summer are actually like pre-40s and then 50s and then 60s. So the cutoff point is the 70s. So there's loads of 60s stuff here. There's a Future Makers anthology here, which includes Brian Aldiss, Isaac Asimov, Heinlein, and Arthur C. Clarke. Future Makers. So it could be that one. Another Theodore Sturgeon one, A Touch of Strange. I want to be quite a completist with him because I've liked everything I've read by him. So I want to try and delve better into him. I love this. This is a film tie-in cover of Empire of the Ants by H.G. Wells. So that's a little illustrative version of Adrian Barbeau there. Empire of the Ants. So I might read that. H.G. Wells is clearly in that remit. John W. Campbell, a really important man in science fiction history, but he was a writer as well as an editor and influencer. Islands of Space. Actually, is this him, or is he just editing it? Yeah. So there's a story here written in 1930, so it does go back a bit. This one, I really ought to read this because it's very intriguing. Brian Aldiss, The Saliva Tree. I had to buy it because it's called The Saliva Tree. It's 60s. Brian Aldiss is a very important man. Robert Silverberg, The Man in the Maze, another fantastic cover. But it's a nice excuse to show you these great covers as well again. So that's a possibility. The Strugatsky brothers, The Snail on the Slope. So there's quite recent translations, but they were originally written in the period of the Rocket Summer event. But they were recent translations. Snail on the Slope. And Time Untamed is a really interesting collection. So this features Isaac Asimov, Robert Bloch, Ray Bradbury, Clifford Simak, John Wyndham, Theodore Sturgeon, L. Sprague de Camp, Fritz Lieber, lots of people. So I'll probably delve into that one. William Tenn, I've read a book by William Tenn, didn't really like it much, but I'm going to give him another go. Give him a chance of all possible worlds. So it could be a William Tenn book. Finally, I think I probably will read Eric Frank Russell's Wasp. So I've almost read this a number of times, and I'm really intrigued. It's a classic science fiction novel. One small wasp in the right place at the right time can slay 4 comparative giants, and somewhere on the 94th planet of the Syrian Empire was James Mowry, the human wasp who had come to destroy from within. So this is a kind of, I think it's a military sci-fi thing, but with this central premise of the astronaut, pirate, space soldier using the technique of how a wasp fights, I think. H.G. Wells, The World Set Free. So this is a knackered copy, but I hadn't seen that before, so I bought that one. The World Set Free. Could read that. Alien World. So this is a collection that features loads of people: Eric Frank Russell, Philip K. Dick, Robert Sheckley, Powell Anderson, Robert Bloch, John Brunner, John W. Campbell, John Wyndham, Clifford D. Simak. Oh, that's it. But that's quite a lot of people. This came out in 1964. Oh, so I don't know if I showed you the cover. Alien Worlds. Gunpowder God by H. Beam Piper. I like H. Beam Piper because I like the fuzzy books. So this could be interesting. Another 60s one. This is about time cops. I'm going to be doing a lot of time travel reading in the next sort of 6 months. So that could be one of them. Because I am going to do a special thing eventually on this. Time Traveler's Almanac. And I could read some stuff from this actually for the event, because some of the stories go way back. So this is a fantastic collection, and I'm so pleased to have it. These are some of the authors that are on the collection. And it's like a definitive time travel short story collection, edited by Anne and Jeff Vandermeer. So I am going to do a feature on this. So I don't know how to do it yet. I don't know whether I'm going to do a regular feature as I slowly go through the book. I might do that. Let me know what you think is a good idea. Harry Kuttner, Clash by Night. These are short stories that he put together in a collection in the 50s. Clash by Night. Another Powell Anderson, Traded to the Stars. Another Theodore Sturgeon, The Dreaming Jewels. This is a really famous one, but I haven't read it yet. The Dreaming Jewels by Theodore Sturgeon. Here for the connoisseur, for the devotee of the SF genre, and for those who like their reading to combine excitement with good writing, is the Corgi SF Collector's Library series. Blah 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 blah. Blah blah blah. It's a strange tale of Horty, a little boy who ran away from home and took refuge in the bizarre world of the carnival. With him went his favourite toy, an old jack-in-the-box whose jewelled eyes sparkled and shone, hypnotic in their brilliance. And among the freaks and oddities of the sideshows he found friends, jewelled people like him, who tried to protect him from the terrible secret of his existence. Is that one? I've recently got this, very excited to have it. I'm going to try and get as many Damon Knight books as I can, and this is Hell's Pavement, which is... It's like a fix-up novel, because there's lots of short stories that have been put together into a novel. Hell's Pavement. Future for Sale by Richard Saxon. This is a dystopian thing, I think. Oh, no, it's a time travel thing. Can a man be sent into the future or into the past? The question was being asked of an obscure young Cambridge science don who just demonstrated that such a phenomenon was possible with a small animal. In his new novel, Richard Saxon shows once more that he's one of the most able writers in his field today. Doesn't really say a lot, but there we are. I could go back to some short stories by H.G. Wells. So these were very formative when I was at school, and I was sort of turned on to them very quickly as like a 13-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old. So could read that. Could read Country of the Blind again. That'd be interesting. Could read Slaughterhouse-Five. That actually came out in 1969, so it's in the remit. So I haven't read this yet. My experience with Vonnegut is not massively successful. So I've read 3 Kurt Vonnegut books so far and didn't like them. But, you know, this is the big one, so maybe I could read that. I love this. I love finding this. This is a really beautiful condition. It's got red paper, which is very awesome. It's by Gordon R. Dixon. It's called No Room for Man, and it's a book about overpopulation, overcrowding, which I think is one of my favourite things to cover in science fiction. There's that one. Another Theodore Sturgeon, Venus Plus X. I was really pleased to find this. Again, really beautiful condition. So I could read that one. Roger Selazny's Dream Master. A little tiny corgi one, is it? Ace one, a little ace book. Again, like, you know, very small book. But I love that kind of thing, that kind of feel. So I could read that. Partly because it's such a nice thing to physically read, you know. The Dream Master, Roger Selazny. Jack Vance, this just squeezed in. I think it's 1969. Space opera, Jack Vance. When a mysterious opera company from an unknown planet arrives on Earth, human music lovers are astonished and infuriated. And when that same opera company suddenly vanishes without trace, Roger Wall's wealthy aunt determines on revenge. An earthly operatic team is dispatched into space. Their destination is the distant world of Rua, and their subsequent adventures are, to say the least, unexpected. So this could be quite a funny one, and could be a little bit of a laugh. Anthony Burgess, the one you see, I've heard about this a lot, and I need to read this because it's apparently quite a wild dystopian thing about how they deal with population crisis. So the Wanting Seed could be one, probably is going to be one. Worlds Without End, Clifford Simak. I've got loads of Clifford Simak, so it could be one of those. But these are short stories, so I could delve into a couple of those. Again, Robert Bloch, short stories, Atoms and Evil. So it could be one of those. Another one there, Rings Around the Sun, Clifford Simak. Lee Brackett, The Long Tomorrow. So that's a book I really want to read. I want to read some Lee Brackett. I've just recently bought her first novel. And I was very excited to find it because I think it's quite an interesting find. And I found that in the wild in a second-hand bookshop. And she was a mentor for Ray Bradbury, which is pretty cool. The Long Tomorrow could be one. There's a couple of more Robert Silverbergs that fit into the remit. So most of the stuff I've got being in the 70s, but these are 1968, 69. So The Master of Time and Thorns. How cool are these covers? So brilliant. This is one I was really pleased to be in the remit. So this came out in... where are we? 1957. On the Beach by Neville Shute. So I love that cover, by the way. I think it's awesome. It's very stylized, but I think it's quite beautiful. So On the Beach, I wanted to read this for quite a while, so I could read that. That's a vintage classic edition. James Blish, The Star Dwellers, could read that. Another Damon Knight one here, Beyond the Barrier. This is quite an early Damon Knight, I think. Again, like these awesome red pages. Let's have a look. When did this come out? 1965. Oh, okay. So that was, and the stories from 1963 and 1964. That initially appeared on Fantasy and Science Fiction magazine. That's often the case. Robert Silverberg, Up the Line, a time travel story that I'm dying to get to. So could be that one. Another Damon Knight, Turning On. I recently purchased this one, so I'm very excited about that one. These are stories from... 1966 was when this was compiled. James Blish, Cities in Flight. So this is a very well-renowned classic book I've never read, so I could read that one. It's quite big actually for that sort of period, but it's lots of stories together. So the Gatsby Brothers again. Monday starts on Saturday. I've had this quite a while. I ought to read this. That'd be cool. The Gatsby Brothers are most famous for Roadside Picnic, which is a fantastic novel, and quite an unusual novel as well, I'd suggest. Philip Jose Farmer. So this fits into the remit. It's just about squeezes into the 60s, and that's a book called Dare. He's quite a trippy author. Definitely a product of the 60s and 70s. Speaking of which, Dan Morgan's The Several Minds. Could read that one. Whoa. Another H. Bean Piper, Space Viking. Could read that one. Brian Aldiss, Earthworks. I've never read Earthworks, and this is one of his seminal novels, so I could read that. I really am keen to read that one. Quite a famous cover. You've seen that on other things as well, possibly. This is part of the where are we? The Radium Age series, and this initially came out in. Where are we? This came out in 1923, and that's The Clockwork Man by E.V. Odell. This is an interesting one because I wanted to read this because it's got sort of content about gender, about male stereotypes and female stereotypes. It'd be interesting to see how dated it is and what the book says, because I find that intriguing. So 1923, The Clockwork Man. Could read that. Guardians of Time, another Powell Anderson one. Guardians of Time just squeezes into the remit. Lee Brackett, The Coming of the Terrans, another Lee Brackett one. The Coming of the Terrans. Could read that one. So some of this is a reread. I haven't read all of these, so I consider it a fresh read. I, Robot. So this is one of the books I need to read before I start compiling my top 50 science fiction books. There's a bunch of books I want to read or reread first, so that I can feel like I've got it's a good what's the word? An informed list of 50 books. So I'm going to reread what I have already read of iRobot and finish it off. And then this is a collection from the John W. Campbell Memorial Anthology, edited by Harry Harrison. And you can see it's got Isaac Asimov, Alfred Bester, Clifford Simak, and Theo Sturgeon, and lots of other people. This is quite a cool anthology, actually. I was really pleased to find it. So I'll probably delve into this one. And then Jose Farmer, Philip Jose Farmer again, Time Stop. It's a bizarre cover. Time Stop. There's that one as well. There's tons here, like literally, there's about 40 books in front of me that are later than that. So I am keen to get back onto my first love, which is science fiction, and read some of these books. But I just want to mention a few books that I want to read that could be in this period that won't necessarily be part of Rocket Summer because they're more recent science fiction, but I want science fiction to dominate my summer. So it could be Jane Rogers, Body Tourists. So I read the back. In a private clinic in London, a maverick scientist is at work transferring these digital identities into the sleeping bodies of young volunteers. He offers the opportunity for wrongs to be righted, for fathers to meet grandsons, for scientists to see their work completed, for the old to enjoy all the delicious sensations of life again. But Luke will find that he can't control their willful behaviour, especially when they discover they're alive for a mere 14 days. Youth can finally be bought, but at what cost? So that sounds really cool. So Body Tourist, I want to read that. I want to reread Dune. As I said, that would be for the same reason that I'm rereading bits of iRobot and finishing off the rest of it, because I read this many years ago, and I want to try it again. I mean, I did like it when I first read it, but I didn't love it. I liked it. I want to see if I love it this time as an older man. Dying Inside. This is like a 70s Robert Silverberg book, but it's one of his most celebrated ones. And it's so celebrated, I thought I'd have a knackered version just so I had it. And this is supposed to be one of his best. So I want to read this as well, Dying Inside by Robert Silverberg. And then one last comment, finish off with the big one. I really want to read Project Hail Mary, finally. I'm a big fan of Andy Weir, and this is supposed to be his best book. So the people that loved The Martian said, oh my God, he's done an even better book with this one. So I really do want to get involved in this one. So we'll see. I'll pick that one up sometime at some point. There's also, of course, all of the Adrian Tchaikovsky stuff that me and Dave have been talking about. So that could feature in it as well. I mean, I've got Shards of Earth there. I wasn't going to talk about it, but it's there. But I've got Cage of Souls to read, and he's bringing out a new one as well. But anyway, Rocket Summer will feature heavily in my summer, but also some later science fiction as well as other events. So lots of reading to do. Tell me what you think of some of those books and what you would recommend. And thanks for watching. Stay curious, everybody.
Paint me a picture